Thank you very much. That featured a solo by Maria Di Vietro here on double tenors. That was a song.
Does this have to change with the tones?
You know what? I'll get into that during the program. I'll talk a little bit about the instruments. Okay, so we're going to. That was a piece in the calypso style from Trinidad, where these instruments originated, Trinidad and Tobago, the two-island nation in the Caribbean. And it was called Sarah, written by Len Boogsy Sharp. Boogsy is his nickname. A lot of the composers, or as they're called down there, the calypsonians, people who write songs and music in the calypso style, they have nicknames. They have their calypso names. So his name is Boogsy, and he's a well-known steel drum player throughout the world, and that was an arrangement of his. We're going to go on now and do something kind of a Latin jazz style. This is a standard tune composed by Benny Golson called Killer Joe, which I arranged for the band. So we're going to go on to another calypso piece, and this was actually written and arranged by a graduate of Hersey, a woman by the name of Terilyn Schwab. I don't know, she graduated sometime in the 80s, and now she's in music education. She went to the University of Kentucky, and she arranged this while she was playing the steel band at University of Kentucky. Here we go. Good. We're going to change groups. Every year, of course, we have a new crop of freshmen that come in. And most of them have never played steel drums before, although now there's a steel drum band at River Trails Middle School. So some of the kids that come from River Trails have had some experience. So that's really great. But generally, each year, I split the students into two groups, the older, more experienced kids, and the younger, less experienced kids. So this is our younger group. I'm going to play a couple of numbers. The first one is an old classic Bill Withers song called Lean on Me. Again, something that I arranged, so I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So now we're going to do another calypso from Trinidad. This is called The Rope, and it's composed by a calypsonian that goes by the name of the Mighty Sparrow. Here we go. So we're going to move back to the other group, and while they're switching, I'll tell you a little bit about these instruments. The steel drums really kind of originated in the early part of the 1900s. And without going into a whole lot of the history, basically what was happening in Trinidad at the time is it was a British colony, and many of the African population there who, I don't think they were still slaves at the time. No, they were no longer slaves. But the British colonists kind of needed to keep them under control, so they outlawed drumming. And they basically, you were not allowed to play drums because the colonial powers feared that that was the way that they might communicate and maybe organize some kind of uprising. Of course, they were half right because drumming is the way that the Africans communicated. But at any rate, you know, so in order to express themselves and play their music, they just began to use found objects. Whatever type of objects were available, you know, pots and pans, tin cans, and things like that. And the steel drum was really discovered when they found that by pounding on a 55-gallon drum, as you created dents in it, the individual areas would start to have their own pitch. And so they took this a step further and really refined it to the instrument that we have today. These are much more sophisticated than instruments, of course, that were developed in the early part of the century, but they're still all handmade. And I'll show you this in a second, but basically it has all the notes of the chromatic scale. So you could play a major scale in all 12 keys. This is a single tenor pan. In the islands they call it pan, steel pan. So this has about a little over 2 octaves of range, all in the treble clef, and it basically is used to play melodies. As we go down in pitch, but one thing I should explain is that the acoustical properties are such that the large areas create a lower pitch, and the smaller pitches are higher. So that's just kind of a basic acoustical property. You know, if you have a string instrument, a shorter string will create a higher pitch, and for a brass instrument, a shorter length of tubing creates a higher pitch. So as we go down the scale to the lower pitches, they require more surface area of the drum. So then you have the double instruments. Just play a little something on there. Play part of this song or something. This is double seconds. It's just a little bit lower in pitch than the double tenors. Double tenors are basically used to play melody or harmony. Double seconds are used for what they call strumming, which is literally playing rhythmic figures in the music. So it would be akin to what a guitar player would do by strumming his guitar, and that's why they call it strumming. Same with the cellos. Play a few notes on the cellos. Yeah, play something really low. What's your lowest note? Play a couple low notes. So the cello can be used to complement the bass. Well, it's like a cello in an orchestra. This is why it has its name. So it can play bass parts, things in the bass register, as well as harmony. Usually, the cello and double seconds together, if they're strumming, they create the full chord. So that's enough to have a full chord, and then you could have melody and counter melody. So this is kind of a minimal steel drum setup here. If you were to go to Trinidad during Panorama, which is a big steel drum festival before Ash Wednesday, all the bands compete, and the bands are limited to 100 members. So you may have 40 single tenors in the band, you know, or more, carrying the melody. And then you have other variations of instruments going down in pitch. So if you ever have a chance to see a video of a Trinidadian steel band, you'd find that very interesting. It's this times 20. Okay, so we'll continue now with, what are we playing? Oh, it's a composition by a friend of mine who right now is the steel band director at Harper College. His name is Paul Ross, and this is called When You Smile. Here's another, I could call this a calypso, but there's another style of music that came out of Trinidad in the 80s called soca. And basically it's a combination of soul and calypso. Some of the soul music out of the United States started to influence some of the music in the islands. So they came up with a style called soca. It's only slightly different in the drum beat that's used. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to continue with a classical piece. I always try to include a classical piece at some point in the repertoire, because this is something actually that's very popular down in Trinidad. They love to play Western classical music, and as part of their competitions, they always include a classical part of the competition. So that's something that we like to include as well. Here we go.
please. Go.
So I failed to tell you the name of that piece. It was Comedian's Gallop by Kovalevsky. So I would like to take a moment now and answer any of your questions. I'm sure some of you may have some questions, so yes.
How many members are in this band?
How many members are in this band? I think we have 22 or 23. It's basically all the percussion students at Hersey. So all these students play percussion instruments in the marching band, symphonic band, and so this is part of their experience in band at Hersey. They rehearse once a week only. I'm a part-time assistant there, so I come in on Fridays. I spend one class period with the older students and one class period with the younger students. So, you know, beyond that, I rely on them to practice individually. And they usually don't let me down.
Did them identify who are the upperclassmen, like are these the senior, junior?
Okay, seniors, raise your hand. I think we have 4 seniors, yeah. Juniors, stand up, raise your hand. Juniors. Okay. Sophomores. And freshmen. I think we have 10 freshmen, 10, 11 freshmen this year. Yes, sir.
I'd like to look at one of the charts. How do they differ from the drum music or?
Oh, it's regular treble clef, bass clef notation. Regular musical notation, nothing unusual about it, you know. Yes, sir.
I noticed that they move around, so they're all capable of any of these instruments.
Well, right, and this took me a couple of years to figure out how I wanted to do this. But what I generally try to do is when the freshmen come, they spend 1 year on an instrument. You know, so they'll just, if they play single tenor, They'll just be on single tenor for their whole freshman year. And then sophomore year, they'll switch to another instrument, junior year to another instrument. By the time they're seniors, they're pretty much able to move around the ensemble, yes.
Good question.
Any others?
Yeah. What is that thing called?
I thought someone was going to ask me that. Well, this is what we use to play the bass parts. At school, we'll use a large marimba, play it on bass marimba, but obviously that's too cumbersome to bring. And in actual steel drum band, they actually have bass steel drums, which are full-size barrels, and each barrel has about 3 or 4 notes on it. So you would need 6 barrels to have a set of bass. So obviously, we've never had a set of bass at Hersey. There's just no space for it. And in a performance situation like this, it would be almost impossible. So this is my own instrument. This is an electronic percussion controller. So I just have it set to an electric bass sound. But his has hundreds of sounds in it. It's called a mallet cat. And it can sound like a vibe. It can sound like a marimba, timpani, you name it.
If you take any one of those drums, like a tenor drum, are they all the same, or are they all individually different in terms of striking the notes?
Good question. The layout on the tenor drum, for instance, is now becoming pretty standardized. I would say like in the last 20 years, it's become pretty standardized. But in the early decades of this instrument's life, different builders, because all the instruments are handmade, different builders might have their different schemes for how they would lay the notes out. But just through trial and error, they've kind of come, most of the main builders and tuners have kind of come to an agreement on what works the best. And so the layout we have here is pretty standard.
Where do they build these things?
Oh, well, he was asking who builds them and where do they build them. The gentleman who made our instruments is on the faculty at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb. His name is Cliff Alexis. He's a native of Trinidad. And he's been in the United States for many, many years now, teaching steel pan and building instruments. He's one of the 2 most in-demand builders in the world, respected for his work. And now there are more people apprenticing and learning how to build the instruments. There's lots of builders down in the Caribbean. And then they're in different parts of the world, in Taiwan, in Europe. It's becoming more worldwide.
How long do the pans last? Are these the original pans that you had in the 90s?
Yeah. These steel. I really don't know what the actual lifespan of a steel pan is. The oldest one that we have is this tenor here, and that's at least like from the early or mid 80s. Okay. And the other instruments are newer. The other instruments were new when we started this group in 1993. So they should, they should last as long as I'm here.
Does the depth of this vary the tone quality? I noticed some there look like they're about 8 inches, others 4.
Yeah, absolutely. As you get the lower notes, you want to have more resonance. So this part of the drum that hangs down is called the skirt. They call it the skirt. So the length of the skirt will affect the tone quality. In fact, that's one of the main differences between double tenors and double seconds, is that even though the double seconds only goes down about a whole step lower, the skirt is longer. So there's more of a resonance and more of the lows of the tone are brought out, whereas the double tenor, they want it to be more of a treble type of instrument. And so the highs will come out stronger. Yes?
Who introduced you to pans? How did you get your background?
Oh, I was first exposed to steel drums in my freshman year at the University of Illinois. So that was the first place I was exposed. I played in a steel drum band there as a percussion student. You had a semester of percussion ensemble and a semester of steel band.
How can they practice? They can't take them home?
No. They practice at school. So it's, either after school or during their free periods or lunch periods or whenever they're given time to do individual practice. So it is a responsibility because they have lots of music to learn and practice, but what they learn in high school is how to make good use of their time, and I think you can see the result of it here today.
How do you tune? Or do they go out of tune?
They do go out of tune if they're not handled properly, but sometimes just from use, they'll go out of tune. So I take them back to Cliff at NIU, and he tunes them with a ball-peen hammer. The ladies asked me what I do besides work with students at Hersey. I'm a professional musician. I work around the city of Chicago. I do some theater work downtown. As a matter of fact, I just played a show that used steel drum. It's the first show I know of that used steel drum. The orchestrator wrote a steel drum part for one of the pieces. That show was Dirty Dancing. It left Chicago in January. It's in Boston now. But there's actually a steel drum part in the percussion part. Any other questions? All right. We have one more piece for you this afternoon. I want to thank you very much for coming and thank the Prospect Heights Library for having us today. This is called, what are we at? Oh, this is something in the Cuban style, kind of a mambo style called Yumbambe. And it features a soloist, Brian Hildebrand, on double tenors.